31st. I assume we're going to have some real nonsense throughout the day with trades and stuff, so it'll be fun to keep an eye on that. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. 8-game main slate, 4-game early. Nice little split for today. Fun pitching on the main slate. We just got ownership not too long ago. It's a little bit different than what I was expecting, but we will definitely get into that. First, I think we need to talk. So, DraftKings has not finalized payouts yet, which I'm sure everybody that plays on DraftKings is well aware of right now. So we don't have the ability to dive into lineup study as of right now. Normally it would have been a real fun exercise because I've got a little screenshot to put up on the screen right here, which is that's basically unable to be seen as I understand that right now. So let's go ahead and put that into a different image program so I can zoom in at least. No one's going to see that nonsense. There we go. First place, 50K yesterday. One ship my money. Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Hopefully.
We're sweating it now. DK trying to pull some shenanigans. Looks good, man. Congrats.
Thanks. Still nervous, but hopefully it holds.
The cheese might stand alone in first by the time this is all said and done.
Yeah. Supposedly
that was a bad one.
League, so I'm good if that's actually the case.
Yeah. How much Verlander did you end up with?
I think like 14-15%.
Okay. Yeah, 44.5 is a decent score out of Verlander last night.
Let me see if I still have it up, actually.
I was in the 20s.
I had 13% Verlander.
Nice. Okay, so just with the field, that's fine. Musgrove, 18.5. I mean, pitching was solid in all the spots you would expect it to be. Chalk came through, I guess.
Yeah, I was actually a little underweight on Musgrove. I had 13%.
Okay. 33 out of Seager. Got the double dong from Adam Duvall. Good times. Good times. What do we got? Braves plus 3-man Seattle? Yeah.
Yeah, 5-man Atlanta, 3-man Seattle. Actually surprised that I didn't have more good lineups, kind of going back and looking at. I guess I had a lot of Texas. That didn't help. But like I had 10% Adam Duvall. I had 10% Seager.
Yeah, 10% Adam Duvall certainly going to help. 36 fantasy points. Was he the high scorer last night? Somebody else doubled on, great.
Yeah, Dickerson had 37.
Yeah. I knew it was somebody. I knew it was a Pittsburgh guy. I couldn't think of it off the top
Dickerson
of my head.
was like 0.8% owned.
I still think that it's glitching out because it doesn't say Osimo at the top. It says ship my money and they don't know what's going on.
Right. That's what's holding it up.
It probably is. They're like, oh, this doesn't compute. Normally it's rank 1 team name Osimo.
Right.
Or at the very least, Tom or 1-800-EDDIE or something.
Yeah.
Eddie hit something, but it was like a $3,000 payout GPP. But it was one of the few contests that had been updated for some reason on lineup study. I don't know why some of them exist and some of them don't.
Yeah, that's weird.
They probably cut it off at some point.
I was gonna say maybe like nobody played Mike Leake in those.
It's certainly possible. Jake says, "Goat my money." Not bad, not bad. Ship my modem still wins, but
I was gonna say I like Jake's more.
I bet you do. But the real thing from yesterday, ignoring Adam's 50K nonsense, Michael Conforto hit a dong. Tied with Jake Hari now. On a bit of a run. Second place. Second highest.
I know you were asleep, but are you aware of how you got there?
I mean, that he, like, do I know anything about it? Was it like an inside the park, or did somebody fall down or something?
It was in the 11th inning off of a lefty reliever.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's how I drew it up.
Yeah.
I wasn't super worried about his starting pitcher matchup. I was thinking, what can I do to get Conforto into extras?
Yeah. Yeah, him and McNeil went back-to-back off of the lefty reliever. The White Sox brought in the matchup in the 11th. Yeah, just like you drew it up.
I will take it. Still a 1 in the box score for me. I'm coming for you, Eric. Watch out. All right. First of all, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Later today, we'll have the deeper dive. Adam Laffey and the boss man Alex Baker going from 5 to 6, and then myself and Chris Spags live before lock from 6 to 7. Closing it out tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. Jason Roslin, Ben Rasa talking Wyndham Championship. I think it's the final event before the FedEx stuff starts. I don't know. I know it's called the Wyndham. That's the best that I can do. MLB Strategy is the promo code 50% off your first month with us. Any monthly package you choose, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher. If you want to check it out, all you have to do, go to awesemo.com/join and use the promo code MLB Strategy. One big word. Finally, we're brought to you, as always, by Yahoo Sports. I'm going to drop the link into chat right now for EMAC Spotlight Hitters article. If you're interested in signing up at Yahoo, a little bit more information in that article, including the promo code AWESEMO, so you can get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. These guys are offering the best contests in the industry. No management fee contests, 33% payout GPPs, so structure's a little bit flatter. It's a much better experience for the user. So if you're interested, you don't have to go up against 150 lineups either, 10 max entries. It's a good spot. Start your day off there. So we're going to hit on a little bit of the early slate so that we don't get yelled at by everyone in YouTube chat this morning. So congratulations. Here we go. 4 games. Do we have any weather issues on the early? Since I guess that's probably important to hit on. Maybe a little rain in Washington.
That's always a fun experience.
Yeah, otherwise we should be good. So we'll just hit on pitching overall, top stacks overall, get in, get out. Pitching's gross. We don't have ownership yet. Luis Castillo, most expensive pitcher on DK right now, 10-4. He's 10K on FanDuel. The guy grading out best for me is Masahiro Tanaka. So give me your thoughts on what seems to be, at least for me, a pitcher pool that is like in reverse of how I like it.
I don't know if I would say it's in reverse. It's just like not great. So I mean,
That's true.
Castillo, I think is pretty easily the highest upside pitcher on the slate in terms of talent.
Yeah.
But the matchup obviously is brutal against the Pirates team that doesn't strike out and is, good offensively. And he's just so expensive compared to other guys. So it makes it tough. I do agree Tanaka's price tag is pretty appealing. Not the best strikeout matchup for him either against Arizona, but Arizona's not as good an offense overall as the Pirates are. The park isn't as favorable for hitting. And the price points just, really stands out. Tanaka really hasn't been himself this year as far as strikeouts go, but he's clearly discounted for that.
Yeah, 7,600 makes up for it a little bit when Anibal Sanchez is only $800 cheaper. The other options below him are Jacob Wagsback and Dario Agrizal. So he's kind of like the floor of legitimate arms, I think, depending on how you feel about Sanchez, I guess.
Yeah.
How do you hash out somebody like Mike Soroka on a slate like this?
Normally, I'm like never interested in Soroka as long as he's reasonably expensive, but he does have more value on a slate like this because there's essentially no opportunity cost. And that's normally the problem with Soroka is that he's not a high strikeout pitcher. He's really good at getting ground balls. So he does a good job of preventing runs. He doesn't walk guys either. But normally there's a couple of pitchers where it's just like, how is Soroka going to catch them unless he throws a complete game shutout? That's not the case on this slate. So he is more appealing. The other side to that, though, is that, while he has been really good at preventing runs, it's really unusual for a pitcher to strike out 20.5% of hitters and be good at preventing runs. He has, a 3.69 xFIP, 405 Sierra. The ground ball percentage, like I said, obviously is really, really useful. Not a great matchup against Washington. It's not a spot that I would feel comfortable with, but I certainly can see getting there just because he's so much better than Agrizal or Wagsback or, Junis.
Yeah, and he also doesn't have to be Zach Greinke facing the Yankees, which is also rarely helpful. What do you want to do with Greinke here? Feels like it should be good at 8,600, but it is New York on the opposite side.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll probably take my chances on Greinke just based on talent. It's obviously a tough matchup, but Greinke's still a really good pitcher. 25.2% strikeout percentage against righties, which is most of the Yankees lineup. 293 expected WOBA allowed, 168 expected ISO. Certainly can run into some trouble, but I still think Greinke is, a $9,500 pitcher in like a neutral spot. So getting him at 8,600 here, it's clearly accounting for the matchup against the Yankees. And, he's the best or second best pitcher on the slate in terms of talent.
Are Wagsback and Agrizal off the table for you other than just pure salary relief if you need it? Is there any interest there whatsoever?
Yeah, I was gonna say it would be. They're definitely on the table, but it's just because of the salaries. There's nothing about Wagsback or Agrizal where I'm going to point to it and say this is why I think that they're going to have success. It's the reasoning is more they could have success and they're cheap.
Yeah. Top stack. Who's standing out to you right now? I will tell you that the Braves appear to be number one for me.
Probably Cincinnati. I like that they're facing a pitcher who gets no strikeouts, in Cincinnati. That's pretty favorable. Sanchez is not as bad as a lot of projection systems make him out to be. I don't think he's still not great. It's still a high upside spot for Atlanta, but I think that if ownership were equal, I would lean towards the Reds.
Okay, that makes sense. 5.6 run implied total. That's a big number. Hard to have a problem there. Sanchez has been good. Hasn't really, other than fastballs to lefties, not really giving up any major problematic power. Could get a little tricky. Apparently I've come full circle on the Braves. Any worry that the Reds lineup is going to struggle sans the crazy man Yasiel Puig?
It makes them even cheaper.
Yeah. What do you think of the trade?
I thought it was a pretty interesting trade. At first, I was kind of confused what the Padres were doing, but when you think about defense for Franmil Reyes, it makes sense to just get, send him to the American League. But also, I think it gives them a higher ceiling getting Trammell.
Yeah.
And they obviously already have a stocked farm system. So, for one, in a year or two when they're making a playoff run, they could. That's one more player they can deal from to get whatever they need. Or two, it just gives them, Reyes is a really good power hitter, but he's really unlikely to be like a superstar, whereas Trammell has that kind of upside. For the Indians, I like it because their rotation's already stacked. Obviously, Trevor Bauer is good, but outside of last year, he's really never had an elite season outside of that. He's been, kind of disappointing this year. And they were able to essentially replace at bats that like Jake Bowers or Bobby Bradley or whoever we're getting with Franmil Reyes and Yasiel Puig, which I think makes them a lot better right now. And it's not like it hurts a lot in their rotation. Like you still can run out there with Kluber whenever he's back, Clevenger, Bieber, Carrasco if he comes back. Yeah. Still plenty of talent there. And then for Cincinnati, I think that's kind of where it's the most questionable. Like
I don't get it.
Yeah, they just gave up their number one prospect, I think the number 30 overall prospect, for 1.5 years of Trevor Bauer, and at least the 0.5 part of that 1.5 is on an irrelevant team that isn't going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So at best, you got 1 year of Trevor Bauer on a competitive team. More likely, you didn't. The only way I think it makes sense for them is if they think that they can turn around and flip him for better prospects, but considering the prospect they gave up, that seems pretty unlikely.
Yeah, he would have to start pitching like last year's Trevor Bauer. And at that point, it becomes like really confusing. He's not exactly going to a spot that's going to be conducive to his skill set either.
Right. So, and that was a good point brought up on Twitter also. Not only is he going to a tough park to pitch in, a big part of his value is how deep he goes in the games. And that's going to take a hit pitching in the National League, most likely. The flip side of that is, he should put up better numbers facing a pitcher more often. But the really interesting thing, like it's not like he's going to go out there and show ace-like stuff before the trade deadline this year because it's today.
Yeah.
So even if he starts off next year on fire, now you're trading a guy that is under contract for half a season. You're not going to get back better than Trammell.
Yeah, I can't figure it out. I just can't. Like the Puig piece is irrelevant. Free agent at the end of the season. He's an average hitter. Doesn't matter.
Maybe they think they can get like a quick extension like they did with Sonny Gray, but that's not really Bauer's MO at all. Like this is a guy that wants to take 1 year deals for the rest of his career. So I don't think that happens.
I just can't imagine when they called Bauer up and they're like, "Hey, you've been traded." And he's just like, "Oh, cool. Like I'm gonna get into a pennant race. Where are we going? West Coast, East Coast? What's happening? Oh, you're not even leaving the state of Ohio."
Yeah.
Hope you like chili. Bad, man. It's got to be so disappointing. It's got to just be absolutely miserable. At least it's a quick ride, I guess.
Yeah, and it's weird because like the first thought when it happens is like, oh wow, the Reds got Bauer. They got a really good pitcher. But then when you think about it, it's just like out of all three teams, I think they lost the trade because it makes no sense.
I obviously have no idea like where teams are in the standings. But I got to look that up just to see the relevance of this. But I thought it was pretty interesting to see that the Reds were 7 games under 500 and 7.5 out of the division. It's like, what are we doing here?
Right.
Cantor 33, who I actually enjoy the comments coming in. If you can flip Bauer to the Yankees for Frazier and Garcia, then it's not a terrible deal or strategy.
There's no way they're getting Garcia for Bauer, though.
I would be very surprised if that happened.
Like, if the Yankees are going to give up Garcia, why wouldn't they give him up for Boyd?
Yeah, he's got a lot more control, right?
Better pitcher, under contract for longer.
Yeah.
Same age, I think. Same ballpark, at least.
I would be very surprised if they were able to flip him to the Yankees.
Yeah, like I'm sure they can
trade him today.
Yeah,
they can't. Okay,
as far as I know, yeah.
I don't know how long like paperwork seems to work. I mean, I would guess that they probably just don't file the paperwork and turn it into like a 3-team deal instead, and don't do it twice.
Yeah, and Bauer's the same age as Boyd, so yeah. If not even saying the Yankees necessarily should give up Garcia for Boyd, but if they're going to give up valuable pieces, it should be for him.
Marge shot at it again.
What'd you say?
I said Marge shot at it again, but it's not Marge shot, so it's not really that interesting. No, nothing. Okay.
I didn't hear like every other word that you said.
I made a Marge shot joke.
Oh, okay. Now I'm following. You
said it wasn't very good. It wasn't very good.
Well, the first time, like I heard what you said, but it just sounded like Marge shot, like a hockey player or something.
Gotcha. Josh, are you a baseball fan or just an MLB DFS player? Just an MLB DFS player, I guess. It would have been a very different answer back in the day, but I find baseball to be incredibly boring now. I don't know. I think sabermetrics ruined it for me in a way, even though that was like the thing that I was most interested in, because before it was just really easy to be like, you guys just don't know what you're talking about. There are these new stats. And now it's just, I just don't care. They could play these games in no OTP and it wouldn't change my day.
Yeah, I mean, DFS ruins it for me because, like, I was thinking about it the other day. I haven't watched an Orioles game this year where I actually cared about the Orioles. And for one, it's because they suck. But, if they were good, I'd care more. But, it's not like I watch, like, oh, man, like, I love the Orioles. It's like, oh, they're facing, I need this guy to do well. I need that guy to do well. So, like, I'm definitely still a baseball fan. But in general, DFS has killed my overall sports fandom.
Yeah, I was listening to the beginning of Simmons' most recent podcast, and they were talking about how there's just not like the same sort of hatred between the Yankees and the Red Sox anymore. Like the rivalry is different, and it's just like, yeah, like these guys are just going to work every day. They don't have to hate the fucking accountant in the other cubicle. It's nobody cares. These guys are making so much money that it's really weird to just be angry over something that like you don't control. I mean, I'm sure there are some people that were like Yankees fans their entire lives, and like that matters to like a player.
Yeah.
But like now it's just work.
Yeah. Pirates and Reds may hate each other, but
yeah, for sure. But even still, like most of those people are probably not like, I hate this guy because he's a Cincinnati Red. Like it's not. Right. They're not race wars.
Like I hate this guy because he just ran off the mound and punched me in the face.
Right. You hate him for like legitimate reasons, not because of the color of his uniform or something like that. But yeah, now because of DFS, it's really difficult to care about anything other than your lineup that day.
Yeah,
which I'm perfectly okay with.
You saw the brawl, right? Like you know what I'm talking about.
I mean, I know that it happened. I saw no part of it whatsoever. I just know that
you need to see the Amir Garrett highlights. It was pretty insane.
Okay. Only highlight that I've seen is the dude from the Reds getting told that they traded Puig from a fan in the stands.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's just like a guy recording him being like, you got so-and-so. Puig gave up Trammell. Just like hightails it out of there to go probably tell everybody else. Votto tweeted it.
So when the brawl happened too, it was after the trade, but Puig was still in the game. So like Puig's on the field fighting after he's been traded by the Reds.
About to get like a 2-game suspension when he gets to Cleveland.
Yeah.
All right. Any other stacks for you on the early slate? I mentioned the Braves. You mentioned the Reds. Anybody else slipping through the cracks?
I don't have the early slate projected ownership in front of me. Is there any like really chalky pitcher?
I don't believe we have it. Oh, it just went up 951. Now I can actually give you that answer. We didn't have it until right now, so it was all guesswork anyway. There is not a chalky pitcher on DraftKings. Castillo, Junis, Greinke, Tanaka, all between 32 and 35. Anibal Sanchez at 25, Soroka at 21. So they're I think the public is just looking at this one and saying, you guys figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of how I felt when I looked at it. I will have more Tanaka than the field. Pretty confident on that one. But otherwise, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
14% on Wags, back 7 on Agrizol if you need those numbers too.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I looked at it too. So I was going to say if there was one pitcher that everyone was on, that I would gladly stack against them because I don't have tons of confidence in any single pitcher.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd rather just spread it out across 150. Although, like I said, I think Tanaka's price is just a little bit too low. That's the piece that stands out most to me. In terms of hitting exposure, also flat. It's 9.1% aggregate ownership going to the Pirates, 14.9% to the Braves. Every other team is in between 9 and 15. So, like, I don't know. Pick the two teams you think are going to be the ones that do it and take the stand, I guess. I have a lot of Braves and Blue Jays right now, but this was a big-time dummy crunch. I don't know. Early slate looks tough. If you want more details on the early slate, after this show, I know I'll be chilling in Slack up until lock, prepping my lineups. I assume Adam will be at least prepping his lineups. We'll see how much he's talking to people in Slack. He might be plotting bad things to DK if he gets stat corrected out of 50K, so who knows. But yeah, if you want to be a premium sub, get our thoughts on the early slate a little bit deeper than this. MLB Strategies, the promo code. Come join us in Slack. Ready to talk main slate?
Yep.
Alrighty. As I said, 8-gamer. Closing this early slate sheet, and then we can get into it. 8 games is perfect for baseball. 14 and 15 gamers, man. That's a lot to talk about.
Currently a huge fan of 14-game slates.
I bet you are. All right. Phillies and Giants. Phillies, 5.2 run implied total. Giants, 4.7. 54% chance to win for Philadelphia. Vince Velasquez going for the Phillies. Jeff Samardzija going for the Giants. Velasquez up to 13% ownership right now on DK at 7,500. No ownership coming into Samardzija. Talk to me about Vince Velasquez. How you feeling here?
I'll go back to him. It's not nearly as good a spot as it was against the Tigers for 6,200 his last start. Not as good a strikeout matchup, but still a below average Giants offense, and just a pretty decent salary on Velasquez, who he's unlikely to go really deep into the game, but he is fully stretched out. I mean, he threw 110 pitches in his last start. It's just that he's an inefficient pitcher. So you're pretty unlikely to get 6+, but does have pretty decent strikeout stuff, has a favorable matchup. And if you look at the pitchers priced around him, Michaelis against the Cubs is pretty uninspiring. Plesac, Yarbrough, against Houston and Boston. I think that Urquidy probably is in the same ballpark as Velasquez, but outside of that, it's a pretty uninspiring mid-range.
Speaking of Urquidy, we'll get to that, but still priced down on Yahoo. Sorry, I changed Vince Velasquez's innings. I forgot that he was fully stretched out now, so I needed to bump him up a little bit, but now it's just like a spinning dial waiting for the sheet to fix itself. Really need to fix this. Become problematic. Any Samardzija?
Probably not. It's a huge park downgrade for him. It's a Phillies offense that is pretty middle of the road in terms of strikeout percentage. They have some good bats in there. Just not a spot that I think I'll really need to get to. Yeah, especially because he's not priced down.
Yeah, I don't see the need to spend 8,100 on Samardzija here, especially with his issues against lefty power. Not really a great spot to have homer issues. He's a lot better in San Francisco. Surprise, surprise.
Yep.
All right, stacks. Right now, Phillies are 5th on FanDuel, number 1 on DK. On the opposite end of this, the Giants are 2nd on FanDuel, 6th on DK. Anything standing out to you here? I would much rather have the Phillies than the Giants.
Yeah, so would I. The Giants, they're not even cheap on DraftKings.
No.
On DraftKings, the Giants are more expensive than the Phillies.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly the Phillies are going to get more ownership there. I think that you can look to some one-offs against Velasquez. Like, he will give up home runs. I think you can look to Alex Dickerson. You can look to Belt, who's really cheap. Like, Belt's probably one of the better value options. Stephen Vogt at catcher. But as a full stack, you're just talking about a team that is really poor offensively. It is a nice park shift for them, but it's just still pretty unlikely that they're like the top scoring stack on the slate. And I don't really see a ton of merit to just jamming two expensive pitchers into your lineup. So, and not that you can really even do that with them on DraftKings. So it's tough to get there. The Phillies, I like them, obviously. Samardzija has his issues. The Giants do have a good bullpen, though. So that's probably why you're only seeing a 5.1 implied run total on Philadelphia. I think that there's a good chance that they come in over-owned just because of their pricing. Like, everyone's going to look and understand that Rhys Hoskins and Real Muto and Harper are phenomenal plays at their price points.
Harper at 19% on DraftKings right now.
Right. And it's not, so I mean, it's not like they're bad plays. They're all strong cash plays, or should at least be in your cash pool. But you add a $3,900 Segura to that, $4,100 Kingery. I think, and then the bottom of the order is free. So I just think you're going to probably a lot of Philadelphia stacks.
Yeah, they come in as my number 2, but just seeing the way that it shakes out, I assume that I still get a fair share of them between the park and the matchup. I wouldn't feel comfortable avoiding them, but I would guess that I come in slightly less than the public. Would you rather have $4,200 Rhys Hoskins or $3,600 Brandon Belt?
What's the ownership difference?
It is 12 to Hoskins and 22 to Belt.
Oh, Hoskins.
Okay. As I suspected.
Yeah.
Had to ask.
My guess is that it was going to be like flipped, and I was going to have to think about it.
Okay. Yeah. Not quite. 29% ownership going to Belt on FanDuel right now. 26 to Pablo Sandoval, because we are playing DFS in 2011. Any Giants bats that stand out to you other than Belt?
In tournaments, I think. What'd you say?
Sandoval, I guess.
I was going to say Alex Dickerson.
Yeah.
He's a spot where I think you can pay up to be contrarian, because he does have power. It is a positive park shift for him. Velasquez has allowed a 230 expected ISO to lefties this year. Since last year, he's allowed a 173 expected ISO. But Dickerson has some power, and with him being a $4,800 outfielder on DraftKings, people just aren't going to get there, I don't think.
7 of the 8 position players for the Giants projected to be lefties today against Vince Velasquez. You don't see that all that often, unless you're the Dodgers.
It makes it scary. It's just that most of them aren't that good.
Right. Yeah, you're not super worried about like Joe Panic's power.
Now I am.
That's fair. Favorite bat in the game? Harper?
Yeah, Harper.
Kind of hard for it not to be, huh?
Yep.
All right, moving on. Red Sox and Rays, 5.6 run implied total for the Red Sox, 5 for the Rays, 55% chance to win for Boston. Rick Porcello going for the Red Sox, Ryan Yarbrough going as the long man for the Rays. Porcello at 11% ownership right now on DK 6,700. No ownership going to Yarbrough as of right now. Look, I don't like this at all, and there is a large possibility for disaster out of Porcello.
Do it.
6,700 is just tough on this slate. There's not a lot below him unless you're a big Wade LeBlanc, Jordan Lyles, Brett Anderson, Sandy Alcantara fan. 2 of those guys projected to be more owned than Porcello right now. Any Porcello for you?
Doubt I get to much. It's not a great matchup against Tampa.
Yeah.
Their active roster against right-handed pitching has a 22% strikeout percentage, 110 WRC plus. Porcello is just garbage too. He's never been a great DFS pitcher. He's not a high strikeout guy. Never really has been. It's a positive park shift for the Rays against lefties this year. So he has about a 21% strikeout percentage against both sides since the start of last year. This year, 15% against lefties, 20.2 against righties, 201 to righties. It's a tough spot. Like, I understand your point about his salary and there not being a whole lot, cheaper, but like, I would rather get to Urquidy. I'd rather get to Velasquez. I think I would rather just totally punt the position than roster Porcello.
Yeah, I don't totally disagree there. The hope is that the fact that Boston plays really difficult to lefty power can somehow mitigate Porcello's biggest issue. But I mean, I see this as a really extreme game for him. 6,700 means that like you don't need all that much to go right, but I would want to have Tampa on the other side, particularly Choi, Meadows, Nate Lowe. Porcello is just downright bad against lefties. So be prepared for it. It's not like a no-brainer or anything. I just don't feel like there's a ton below him, unfortunately. It's tricky.
I think I'd rather take my chances on Lyles or Alcantara.
Yeah, Lyles at 15% ownership right now, 20% on Alcantara. Look, this could totally change. The Rays could put 2 more lefties in this lineup somehow, and I'm just never going to be anywhere near it. The lineup matters a lot, sort of like Freeland yesterday. I ended up playing absolutely none of him because they took out most of the lefties, transitioned to righties, and he got bombed.
Okay, so just to touch on that real quick, switching Muncy to either Chris Negron or Tyler White is still better for Kyle Freeland.
Is it?
Yeah, Muncy's really, really, really good against everybody. And
probably something I should look into. Like
Freeland's definitely better against lefties, so I get that. But like Muncy's just.
Do you think it's probably closer to a wash? Like if you did, if you were just trying to predict like a WOBA, I wonder, like, because there's obviously a split where you take the better hitter against the opposite hand because of your personal splits. Like there's I mean, I'm not that I'm explaining this to you.
Yeah, no, I get it. But I mean, since the start of last year against left-handed pitching, Muncy has a 132 WRC plus. Tyler White's at 107. Chris Negron has 29 plate appearances. Yeah, I mean, 252 ISO for Muncy against left-handed pitching. He actually has since last year, he has the second highest WRC on the team against lefties.
Do you have Muncy's WOBA against lefties?
Yeah.
And can you give me Freeland's against lefties by any chance? If it's X, that's fine. That would be even better, probably.
366 on Muncy. And Freeland, since the start of last year, has allowed a 267 WOBA to lefties, 328 to righties.
Okay. League average right now.
This year he's at 368. So if you want to count the season where he's just been absolute trash, he's been trash against everyone.
I don't.
Okay.
I need league average WOBA right now. We're gonna do a little exercise while we're here. League average WOBA 319, I believe. Sounds about right.
Yeah, it sounds close.
Okay. So in this scenario, we would expect Freeland to give up a WOBA of 306 to Muncy. Can you give me one of those righties along with Freeland to righties?
Yeah. So since last year, Tyler White's WOBA is 324.
Okay.
And Freeland, I lost it. It was high. Like, shit. Call it like 370.
Okay. So
since last year, I'm sure it's lower.
So we had Muncy at 366 with Freeland giving up a 267. League average 319. We predict 306. Did you give me Negron?
No, because he has 29 plate appearances against lefties since last year, so I have no idea.
What righty did you give me?
Tyler White.
Oh, okay. So Tyler White at 324. Freeland 370, 370. Still 319 average. That would predict a 376. So a lot better. 376 projected WOBA to Negron, or to Tyler White in comparison to 306 to Muncy. Big gap. Positive
I think
for the lefty.
The 370 for Freeland might have been high.
Even if it's 340, it's still 345. I mean, it's basically going to be whatever. Since White projects as league average, it's basically going to be whatever comes out of Freeland.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that makes sense to me.
Okay. It doesn't have to. It's just right.
336 for Freeland.
Okay. So then White's going to be somewhere around there. So yeah, I think that's probably still a net positive for him, even though Muncy's fantastic.
Yeah, that's possible.
At least that's how I would look at it. You know, there are plenty of other directions to go with that. Ultimately, I didn't play him, and he got shellacked, so none of it really matters. Any Ryan Yarbrough for you?
No, just brutal spot against Boston. I don't think there needs to be a whole lot else said there.
Agreed. Right now, Red Sox 4th in ownership on both sites. Rays 3rd on both sites. One of those things more appealing than the other to you?
Sorry. You said Red Sox were 3rd and the Rays were 4th?
Flip it.
Rays are 3rd and the Red Sox are 4th?
Yes.
I mean, the Red Sox have an implied run total of 4 run higher. They're facing the better pitcher in Yarbrough, but obviously a really good offense. I think Tampa's kind of hard to stack because of Choi and Lowe playing the same position. And then if Pham's in the lineup, him, Meadows, and Garcia, all outfielders. I would still prefer Boston, even though they're facing a better pitcher.
Check DK. They're starting to release. Or maybe they already have. Yeah,
I got it. I win.
Official?
Yeah.
Too bad. Too bad. I would never... In no way would that ever be serious, just for people that are watching. You don't root for somebody to lose money, no matter how much.
Having a video of my face just losing like 30K on a stat correction 10 hours later would have been entertaining, though.
I might have asked Alex if he could just put that money up just for the memes we'd be able to use for like the next year. It probably would have been worth it in content. Just trolling you over and over again with that facial expression. Would have been nice. Have the boss man give it to you as like a Christmas bonus or something. Make up for it. Yeah, so the Rays stacks are pretty spread out. 15 Choi, Pham, Meadows, Avisail Garcia, Joey Wendell, all in double digits in exposure on DraftKings. Similar story on FanDuel. Red Sox, though, it's the first 4, and then it's kind of not as interesting. Not that that's super surprising. Betts, Devers, Bogarts, JD have just been insane. Devers in particular is damn good, but lefty here. I'm assuming I'm more likely to get to Boston. But man, they're expensive. They're not even that expensive, actually. 3 guys in 5K, JD at 49. I like Boston. I'm talking myself into it now. I feel like they should be more owned.
Yeah, I agree. Again, it's never really appealing going against Tampa when Yarbrough's pitching, because Yarbrough's pretty decent. You're getting the opener for the first at bat for the top of the lineup, but
I mean, Kittredge sucks.
It's still Boston too. Yeah, I mean, it's not Ryan Stanek, so that helps.
Yeah. Yarbrough splits weird over the last 2 seasons. 180 ISO to lefties, but a 124 X ISO. 150 to righties. Yeah, I greatly prefer the Red Sox to the Rays. Favorite bat in this game?
I think it's still JD, like it has been for the last month.
Yeah, hard to disagree. 4,900. 4,100 on FanDuel, same story. $19 on Yahoo, same story. No real weird pricing anywhere here that I wanted to point out. So it's a good game. Keeping it moving. Indians and Astros, 4.7 run implied total for the Indians. 5.4 for the Astros, 57% chance to win for Houston. Zach Plesac going for the Indians. Jose Urquidy going for the Stros. No ownership going to Plesac right now. 24% going to Urquidy, where he's $27. Don't overthink it there. That's just stupid pricing. Even if he is facing, well, I always think that the Indians are better than they are, but either way, $27, just do it. 7K for Urquidy on DraftKings, 11% ownership. How do you feel about Urquidy, first and foremost?
I'm still interested here. The Indians do have a really low strikeout percentage against right-handed pitching, but I think that, with how much time you spent talking about Rick Porcello and pointing out how kind of dead that price tier is, and the fact that we have interest in Velasquez at 7,500 just kind of points to it as well. I think Urquidy still has really good strikeout stuff. I think that he's cheap enough where he doesn't have to have even close to a ceiling strikeout game to still pay off this price tag. He certainly can he certainly can miss his ceiling by quite a wide margin and still give you a score that is acceptable at 7K. And he does still have that ceiling. I mean, we're talking about a guy with a 30+% strikeout percentage at AAA this year. He's obviously been good since joining the Astros as well. So I'm gonna still get to Urquidy.
Yeah, I can't imagine not wanting to go there. If I'm lucky, I get more Urquidy than Porcello, and I don't have to feel like a complete moron. Any
I'm
Plesac?
pulling up his minor league stats too, because I know we looked at it last time, but I don't remember what the conclusion was on his numbers against lefties in the minors. I think they were even better than.
Well, they've been real bad in the majors. Kind of.
I don't think he's faced that many.
In what? Like in the majors?
Yeah, in the majors.
174 pitches.
Yeah, so because I know he's faced the Angels, he's faced the Cardinals, and like those are both right-handed heavy teams. I just remember someone had tweeted me a while ago about him having reverse splits. So against lefties at AAA, 18.2 innings pitched, 21 strikeouts. Nothing you're going to really draw there. So whoever tweeted at me just was making stuff up, I think. But
Fair enough.
Still doesn't look like he should be, bad or anything like that.
You mean to tell me that everything on Twitter isn't true? Shocked.
So he does. Here's something that does catch my attention though. Against lefties, he struck out 34% of them so far, but he has a 25% swinging strike percentage on his changeup so far, which he's throwing 37% of the time, and is 10 miles an hour slower than his fastball.
I want to play him. There's not a lot to like at the bottom, so I'd get a lot more satisfaction out of playing Urquidy than I would Porcello, that's for sure. Here's what I think we need to talk about.
At least there's a chance that you're rostering a guy that 2 years from now isn't like absolute trash. Like maybe he's good.
Do I get his points for 2 years from now?
You know what I mean, though? Like, you know what Porcello is, and it's not good.
Right.
Urquidy, there's some chance he's like a good pitcher.
Very true. 6th in ownership right now for the Astros on FanDuel, 10th on DraftKings. They are my number one stack. Zach Plesac has given up power to everybody. And surprise, surprise, the Astros have a lot of it. What do you want to do with the Astros? Because they are like jumping off the page for me.
Yeah, I like the Astros here too. Kind of surprised that their implied run total's as low as it is. They are fully healthy now. I mean, not this game being the first time, but the last couple of days being the first time. Correa is back in the lineup. You have Alvarez up. It's a ridiculously good lineup. So yeah, I like getting there. They are expensive, which probably means that with the lack of cheap pitching on the slate, they're not really that popular as, at least in the form of a full stack either.
These are going to be very ridiculous numbers, but I just think that it's interesting to look at. So if I take all my target scores, if I take the top 6 from every team, the odds of the Astros top 6 guys all hitting their target score, I get it 1 in every 272,000 opportunities. The next closest team is the Phillies, just over 1 million. So like 4 times less likely than the Astros in that spot. I can't get away from the Astros. They will be my number one stack. I want all of it. I just wish Plesac was getting some ownership too. 5.4. I mean, it's one of the higher run totals. Plesac against both hands this year. 227 x ISO against lefties. Obviously, very small sample size. Nope, that's Urquidy. Still bad either way, but 193 x ISO against lefties, just a 16.8% K rate. So look out for Yordan Alvarez today. 189 x ISO against righties, 19% K rate. Look out against everybody else. Love it. Can't get enough of Astros here. They're expensive, but it's worth it. Favorite bat in this game, or actually any Indians against Urquidy?
Kipnis is probably a reasonable cash option, assuming he's batting cleanup.
Yeah.
Bowers is super cheap, but nothing that I expect to prioritize from Cleveland. From Houston, I would say that Alvarez is probably my favorite.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. Would you rather have Alvarez than Springer?
I think so. He's got, I mean, he's got the platoon advantage. He has at least similar power, if not better.
Uh, yeah, Springer versus righties, 224 x ISO over the past 2 seasons. Not that that's anything to frown at. Alvarez, obviously, massive power. I don't think you can go wrong with any Astro you pick, and they are 10th in our ownership right now out of 16 teams. That one feels easy to me.
Yeah, it's just a matter of what are you going to do at pitcher.
A lot of Rick Porcello. Keeping it moving. Marlins and Twins. 3.4 run implied total for the Marlins, 4.6 for the Twins, 63% chance to win for Minnesota. Sandy Alcantara going for the Marlins, Jose Barrios going for the Twins. Barrios getting a lot of ownership, 32% on Yahoo, 19% on FanDuel, 23% on DraftKings. Alcantara, though, 20% coming in on DK. Relative to salary, which pitcher do you prefer?
God, you say it so weird that it messes me up. Alcantara.
Okay.
Uh,
By weird, do you mean correct or?
don't mean that.
Okay.
It's obviously a worse matchup against Minnesota. He's just really, really cheap, and obviously we're lacking options there. You're just hoping that he gives you 12, 13 points, and you can move on. Minnesota won't have Nelson Cruz in the lineup, which at least helps. Replacing him with Jose Barrios makes this lineup a bit worse. Alcantara. What did you say?
I'm just laughing to think about the difference between Nelson Cruz and a pitcher hitting.
Alcantara, not a high strikeout guy, walks too many guys. 19.6% strikeout percentage against righties with a 157 expected ISO, 14% against lefties with a 169 expected ISO. There's nothing really appealing. It's just that he's really cheap. He's as good or better than every pitcher priced around him, and you can use those savings. Whereas Barrios getting ownership here, I understand why. It's a great park. It's a bad Miami offense. One thing to keep in mind with Miami currently, though, is that you do maybe more so than like any team in baseball right now have to check the actual lineup that Miami goes with, because if you just look at their numbers with the active roster, you get a 24.2% strikeout percentage against right-handed pitching. But if you go through the actual players that could be in their lineup, I listed them all out in the deep dive yesterday, but going from memory, I think it's Rojas, Ramirez, Anderson, Castro, Prado, and maybe one other guy are all below 21% strikeout percentages. And then you have Alfaro at like 37%. Cesar Puello has a high strikeout percentage. Granderson's at 30%. Walker's at 25. So there's a really, really, really big split between strikeout percentages for a lot of the guys here. It's not like they just have a lineup full of 25% strikeout rates. So there's at least a chance that Miami runs out a lineup that's below average for strikeouts. And Barrios himself is below average for strikeouts. He's only struck out 21.8% of hitters so far this season, and he's priced at a point that's pretty close to Jacob deGrom. Yeah. So it's really tough for me to get to Barrios, especially if I'm not getting any sort of ownership discount, or at least a sizable ownership discount.
Yeah, you're looking to get the benefit out of the fact that he goes pretty deep into games and that the Marlins aren't good just in general, ignoring the strikeout matchup, but are just simply terrible. You get the benefit of the park as well. We had someone mention, Barrios sucks on the road. No projection system is ever going to move him out of Minnesota here to pitch in Miami and make him worse. So,
yeah,
this is a better spot to pitch.
And the thing, it's something that I mention a lot with top tier pitchers, but just looking at the overall talent level, obviously Jose Barrios is someone that we respect as a pitcher, and so it's pretty easy to just look at it as Barrios in Miami, just plug him in. But if you actually look at the numbers, would you pay $10,700 for Jacob Junis, or would you pay 11 whatever for Jacob deGrom? Because it's pretty comparable. It's an identical strikeout percentage. Barrios' walk percentage is a bit lower. His xFIP is like a little under 0.2 runs better, but really comparable numbers for these guys when you talk about upside, at least.
I'm nervous to say that out loud, but maybe it'll be fine. So we've got Barrios projected 23% ownership on DK. We have Mike Minor at 21. I greatly prefer Mike Minor today.
I don't, but I don't think you're crazy.
Okay. Mariners right now, just striking out in basically every at bat.
Except for the ones where they win me a bunch of money.
Yes, exactly. Except for those 3 specific players yesterday only. So that the reason, like, I'm less interested in Barrios just because of Mike Minor.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I have
Barrios at 6.2 strikeouts today. I have Mike Minor at 7.9, and that is a testament to Seattle's lineup.
Yeah, I have them very similar in terms of projection. Minor's obviously cheaper, and you said lower owned, right?
21 and 23, so essentially the same thing.
Yeah, so I could see like me splitting their exposures.
Okay. Yeah, that works. I assume that I'm underweight on Barrios.
Yeah.
I'll just get, like, DeGrom will make him useless to me. Although
Right,
DeGrom's got a hell of a number on him too.
My guess is that I end up just coming in overweight on DeGrom and probably not getting to a lot of other expensive pitching.
Overweight on DeGrom is a real big number.
Yeah, he's 38 on DK right now.
Did we update ownership? Again?
I don't know.
Yeah, we did. Because he was 44 in the first one. So
yeah, okay.
That's why I was just like, I wouldn't count your chickens on over on DeGrom quite yet. Man, early. Let me grab those now. Just doesn't make any sense for us to talk about stuff that is less correct than it was before. Yo, Adam, what are you buying with that 50K? That's a question from chat.
All the money that I lost over the last 2 months.
Yeah. Buying something to deal with the ulcer that you've developed over the last 3 weeks. Okay, so now ownership is 24 on Barrios, 22 on Minor. So same story coming for it as of right now. Twins bats, 11th in ownership right now on both sites. Marlins are 15th or 14th. Are you targeting hitting here?
I could see getting to some Minnesota just because even without Cruz, it's still a really dangerous lineup, and we have Alcantara projected for a lot of ownership. But still probably not a spot that I'm going to prioritize because Minnesota is expensive. And if you're stacking Minnesota, you're obviously removing Alcantara as a cheap pitching option. So now I'm kind of forced into like stacking this team in Miami while also being forced onto most likely someone like Brett Anderson or Jordan Lyles or something like that. I kind of doubt that I get to a ton.
Yeah, I feel the same way. They grade out as my 11th best team. It's just not a great park, and Alcantara's good, so. I mean, not good, but like not bad.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Not the total gas can that a lot of pitchers at 5,200 are normally.
Yeah. Miami's bullpen, however, is a different story.
Yeah, but the park should help. Either way, not interested.
I mean, it's a 4.7 implied run total, all things considered. Run total obviously is not everything, and it's just kind of a quick way to it's a quick thing to point to, but it does take all that stuff into account, and it's not like. And for Minnesota, this is actually a pretty low implied run total relative to where they normally are.
Right. Yeah, so I have 4.6 in there right now, just to check. Standings.
It looks like the Astros jumped like 3 or 4 tenths of a run since we talked about them.
The Twins have averaged 5.7 runs per game this season. So this is 1.2 runs. 1.1 run lower than they normally do. So it's a tough spot for the Twins. Rangers and Mariners. Actually, I don't know if I hit the stupid timestamp on this one yet, and I don't want to hit it twice. Give me 1 second. 45. It didn't. Cool. Memory like a goldfish. Rangers and Mariners, 5.5 run implied total for the Rangers, 4.5 for the Mariners, 60% chance to win for Texas. Mike Minor going for the Rangers. Wade LeBlanc looking to be the long man for the Mariners. No ownership to LeBlanc. Minor, 22% on Yahoo, 20% on FanDuel, and 22% on DraftKings. He's my favorite non-Jake DeGrom guy today. Seattle leading the league. Seattle's active roster leading the league in strikeout rate against lefties right now. They've been okay against lefties from a performance standpoint, but just from a strikeout stance, it's hard for me to not want to go to Minor for that strikeout upside. Not that he's a great strikeout pitcher, but I would rather have Minor than Barrios or Giolito. Talk to me about Minor. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think I'm pretty much there with you. Like, he has a almost identical xFIP to Barrios. His strikeout percentage is 3 points higher. He's facing a strikeout heavy Seattle lineup. Their active roster against. What'd you say?
I think it's like 28.
I'll say I have 26.7, but I hadn't refreshed, so after yesterday maybe. But the highest strikeout percentage against left-handed pitching on their active roster. Most of their right-handed hitters aren't very good. Like Tim Beckham has some power, Murphy has some power, Santana's a pretty decent hitter, but overall you're not super concerned there. I'm with you. I think Minor's a pretty good play.
Yeah. The price tag is just so helpful knowing that, like, I don't know, 10-7 for Barrios, honestly, is just like a really big number for him.
Right.
Yeah, I can't imagine we're going to be talking about Wade LeBlanc, so, or are we?
No, I mean,
that was a deep breath.
It's just that Texas is so. I hate when Texas is in spots like this. They have a 5.8 implied run total. They're at home where it's like 100 degrees. They're facing a pitcher that's not good. But I'm looking at the lineup, like, where the hell do I want to go outside of like Elvis Andrus at a cheap price tag?
Oh, so you mean to tell me that you're not interested in the number 1 owned team on FanDuel and the number 2 owned team on DraftKings?
Interested, I think I am, because they have close to a 6 implied run total. But when I try and break down this lineup and say, like, this guy's in a really good spot, this guy's in a really good spot, I can't do it because most of these guys are just so bad against left-handed pitching.
Yeah. Yeah, they are number 1 on FanDuel, number 2 on DK. I have them 4th. I just assume that I come in pretty far under the field. I understand why they're getting the ownership. I mean, it's clearly a good spot, good game, but
their active roster against left-handed pitching since the start of last season, Danny Santana has 90 plate appearances. He has a 127 WRC plus. He also has a 34.5% strikeout percentage. But beyond that, once we get into the guys that actually have 200 plus plate appearances, there's not a single guy on the roster with a WRC plus above Rougned Odor's 95.
Rough. That is rough. You mean Jeff Mathis hasn't been good?
Jeff Mathis has a 35 WRC plus with a .00 ISO and a 230 WOBA. His WOBA is higher than everyone's ISO except for Santana.
Why is he in the league?
Defensive reasons.
I don't think that they can defend that. I think that it's offensive that he is in the league. That's really bad. Like, there's got to be a better defensive catcher out there that can just also be shitty.
Yeah, you would think. He's been around a while though. Like, he always has a job.
Yeah.
Normally,
it must be a real nice guy.
Right, great in the locker room.
Nude pics of the Rangers owner's wife or something. Who knows? I don't want to get to all of the Rangers if people are already there, and I don't want to get to the Mariners really at all. Although if I end up with a lot of Minor, I'll probably try to make sure I at least have 1 or 2 full Seattle stacks on the opposite end.
The one thing I'll point out with Seattle is that you're getting a really, really, really cheap offense for a team that's hitting in Texas.
It's true. The problem is that they're just bad.
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying that like they should be priced more. It's just that when you try and put yourself in a position to win a tournament with outlier outcomes, getting a bunch of cheap guys that are hitting in 100-degree weather in Texas is a pretty good start.
Absolutely. Minnesota versus who the hell does Minnesota play? 63. Miami. Just finishing off these timestamps. Texas versus Seattle. Got it. All right, 3 to go. White Sox hosting the Mets. 3.5 run implied total for the White Sox. 4.5 for the Mets. 61% chance to win for New York. Lucas Giolito going for the White Sox. Jake DeGrom going for the Mets. 6% on Yahoo, 8% on FanDuel, 5% on DraftKings for Giolito. 37% at $60 on Yahoo. 27 at $12K. And 38 at $11.8 for DeGrom. I said it in Spotlight Pitchers today, but we talked about how good of a spot Noah Syndergaard was in yesterday and how like everything made sense and it looked everybody understood it. It's like that, but actually good today.
Yeah, it's like that, except with an actually good pitcher.
Yeah, any amount of Jake DeGrom to me is fine.
Yeah, I agree. Also,
just
Yohan
hard.
Moncada may not be in the lineup, which would make it even better. He left yesterday's game with some sort of injury.
Yeah, you probably knew DeGrom was coming the next day.
I found that out when I was sweating the game, needing the Mets bullpen to blow the win for Syndergaard, and following Jose Abreu was, instead of Yohan Moncada, Ryan Goins.
Oh, that's always good.
It was a really fun surprise.
Well, I guess it worked out for you.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say for DeGrom. This is perfect. It'd be better if it were in New York, but that's about it.
Do you have interest in Giolito?
5% ownership right now. That's 1/5 of Berrios. I would rather have Giolito than Berrios, full stop, in that.
So that's kind of what I'm getting to is, I think Berrios outscores Giolito on average. Like, his median projection should definitely be higher because of the matchup.
Agreed.
But Giolito clearly has the better strikeout stuff. He's got the second highest strikeout percentage on the slate this year. He has his issues, no doubt about it. And the Mets aren't a great matchup, but I don't know. I think he's maybe a little bit too talented to be 5% owned on an 8-game slate with questionable pitching.
I have Berrios's target score 0.1% higher than Giolito's today.
Right.
Yeah, I would prefer to flip flop their ownership, and I'd be cool with it. But again, I still prefer Minor, given the two. But Giolito at 5%, I'm in for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to point it out because it's obviously hard for me at this point. Like, I'll have a better idea on the deeper dive to know exactly what I think I'm doing, but it just jumps out as a spot where, like, I know he's going to project worse than all the guys around him for me, but because I factor in actual pitcher talent in these top guys, and it lets me get to some really low owned guys, I could see that being the case with Giolito.
Agreed. I'm with you there completely.
And also, so I know he hasn't been great lately, but also not the easiest schedule. If you go back through recent starts, Minnesota, at Tampa, at Kansas City, Cubs, Minnesota, Boston, at the Cubs, Yankees. I don't know. Like, he's had a pretty rough schedule recently too. I certainly don't think that he's as good as he was at the start of the year, but I don't know. I think that it's a really interesting tournament play.
Mets are also 4th in ownership on DraftKings, so if you need another reason to feel better about it, you can pick up a lot of leverage on the field just by doing that. I have the Mets 9th. They're 7th on FanDuel, 4th on DK. Again, as we just said, I would just rather have Giolito. Are there Mets bats that stand out to you?
Not individually. If you wanted the full stack, I think it's okay because the White Sox pen isn't great. And, if Giolito has a bad game, then, like, if Giolito doesn't have his best stuff, the Mets are a good enough offense that they can do damage and you would want all of them. But Conforto's the thing is, so Conforto's really affordable. So is Robinson Cano. And even Pete Alonso's price tag's at 4,600. So I think maybe that's why you're going to see some ownership there. But it just strikes me as an offense where their median projection is probably a lot more appealing than the actual range of outcomes is.
That makes some sense. I'm just waiting for Conforto to go yard off of a lefty reliever again. I'm the Conforto whisperer. Any White Sox bats?
Was so the Mets. There was a Mets stack that came out of nowhere with the back-to-back home runs, and then it had Pete Alonso also. And you're just watching this terrible lefty that's given up home runs to 2 straight lefties, then face Pete Alonso, needing Alonso not to homer.
And he didn't, I assume.
He blasted one just foul, but no.
Did I see that Conforto's home run was just like a real moonshot?
Yeah, it was a bomb.
I think Andy Glockner tweeted something about it, like almost hitting the brewery in right field or something like that.
Yeah, it was an absolute bomb. Someone else tweeted something about it landing in Lake Michigan.
Well, the distance came out, and it was 425 feet, and they were like, "What, at the apex?"
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a bomb.
Yeah. So shout out Conforto. I'm the man. We are not rostering White Sox bats, correct?
I'm not.
No.
I don't know what you do over there, but
I was gonna say win, but today was not going to be.
Yeah.
I don't have that one in the chamber today. Son of a bitch. Cardinals and Cubs. 4-run implied total for the Cards, 4-1 for the Cubs, 51% chance to win for Chicago. This is like the Spider-Man meme pitching against each other. Miles Michaelis up against Kyle Hendricks. I don't know what to make out of either one of these guys. 24% ownership going to Michaelis on Yahoo, 9 on FanDuel, 19 on DraftKings. Similarly, Hendricks at 10, 6, and 9 respectively at a much higher price point across the board. I mean, I would rather have Michaelis than Hendricks given their prices, but I don't really want either guy. Neither of it feels fun to me.
Yeah, neither one feels great. Neither one is a guy that I really want to pick on. Michaelis' price tag being more expensive than Velasquez and Urquidy and him still getting ownership is pretty interesting considering he has like a 17.9% strikeout percentage this year and the Cubs are a pretty good offense.
Yeah.
So I don't think that I'll get to a lot of Michaelis. I would expect that if he does come in around 20%, that I get to like 10 or something like that. As far as Hendricks goes, him not having ownership is pretty appealing when you consider that there's not a lot of great pitching on this slate. He has limited strikeout upside, but it's not like he has a lower strikeout percentage than, or a much lower strikeout percentage than Berrios, which makes it kind of interesting, but I don't think I'll end up getting there.
Yeah, I don't get the sense that I'm going to have much of either one of these guys. If I do, it's probably Michaelis.
Yeah, that's fair. Hendricks actually should have been, when I used Jake Junis as pretend this was Jake Junis instead of Berrios, would you roster him? Hendricks should have been the example. Berrios, 21.8% strikeout percentage. Hendricks, 21.4. Both have a 5.4% walk percentage. 4.42 xFIP for Berrios, 4.34 for Hendricks, 4.34 Sierra for Berrios, 4.39 for Hendricks. Really, really comparable. 1.07 home runs per 9 for Berrios, 1.03 for Hendricks. So I'll replace Junis there with imagine Kyle Hendricks for 10-7 against Miami. Would you roster him over DeGrom or Minor or other pitchers?
I would not. I think that's the answer we're looking for. So bats aren't getting anything in this game. Cardinals are 13th and 15th on FanDuel and DK. The Cubs are 14th and 12th. I actually have the Cubs 6th. It's a terrible run environment, but this feels like a talent play to me where I can get guys that are good at no ownership.
Yeah, especially because Michaelis is getting some ownership too. On paper, it's not a super appealing matchup. Like you said, it's only a 4.4 implied run total. But Robel Garcia probably leading off. This is a guy that projects for over a 200 ISO. He's got the platoon advantage against Michaelis. Everyone in this lineup is pretty inexpensive too. Ian Happ is back up from the majors, which gives you some left-handed power. I can see getting there. And it's not like you need to get to tons. It's not like you have to have your whole night ride on the Cubs to be comfortably overweight.
Right. Has had some struggles with lefty power. So, Rizzo, Schwarber, if he's hitting 8th, seems like a day where you'd want to bump Schwarber up the lineup today. But
yeah, so do I know. So against lefties this year, 16.7% strikeout percentage for Michaelis, 350 expected WOBA, 187 expected ISO. 303 and 128 respectively to righties. So certainly has been worse against lefties. I think that was the case last year too, if I remember correctly. So guys like an affordable Rizzo, Happ, Schwarber, Garcia are all appealing. And then obviously Chris Bryant's a top 25 hitter in baseball. Javi Baez is a high upside guy. Contreras is a good hitting catcher. So I certainly can see why this is like the opposite of the Rangers for me. Like the Rangers are in a phenomenal run scoring environment. But if I had to point to one guy on the team and say, I love this guy, I think he's a great play, I can't do it. Whereas with the Cubs, I can point to like 6 different guys and give reasons why I think they're a really good play.
Yeah, I'm with you. To the 5 people that got that Chris Bryant line, they're probably real happy.
Yeah.
Robel Garcia, 9% on FanDuel. Everybody else is 0, 1, or 2. 10% on DK. Everybody is 4 or below. So I just like getting the Cubs stacks because they're unowned and they're good. It's not a great spot, and Michaelis isn't super prone to like getting blown up or anything.
Right. It fails a lot, but it certainly has the upside to win your tournament.
No one ever sees the Cubs having 12 runs and being like, well, how did we get there?
Right, exactly.
So that's kind of why I'm interested.
Where it's normally if they score 12 runs, it's because they hit 3 or 4 homers.
Yeah.
It's not because they just, hit a bunch of balls in the gap.
And with Michaelis getting, just under 20% ownership, it makes it even easier of a decision, even though it's not the best offensive environment today. Final game. Unless you have anything else in there, did you want to touch on any Cardinals?
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Tommy Edman leading off for $9 looks okay on Yahoo. Adam mixing in an elite reference, definitely feeling himself. That's Jake. A's and Brewers, 4.7 run implied total for the A's, 4.3 for the Brewers. The only late night hammer. 55% chance to win for Oakland. Brett Anderson going for the A's. Jordan Lyles going for the Brewers. If this were like opening day, I wouldn't be confident that I knew which pitcher was on which team.
Well, one of them wasn't on this team as of 3 days ago. So.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Jake said, only 48 likes. Let's go, people. I agree. Hit that like button. No ownership going to Brett Anderson. Lyles, 12% on Yahoo at $29. 17% on DK at $6,100. I don't have much interest here. I probably should have more than I do, but I don't.
I'll be getting there. It's a tough matchup for Lyles. The A's are one of the most powerful offenses in baseball, but they have a low strikeout percentage. But they also have a lot of right-handed hitters in their lineup. It's like 63 degrees in Oakland. It's a favorable park for pitchers, and Lyles is cheap enough that that's all pretty important to me. Against righties this year, he's allowed plenty of power, 193 expected ISO, but he's also struck out 26.2%. He's had a lot more trouble with lefties, striking out 23%, allowing a 420 WOBA and a 282 expected ISO, although the expected numbers are much better. But not a lot of left-handed power in this lineup anyway. I wouldn't really be interested, but at 6,100 on DraftKings, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I don't get the sense that I'll have anywhere near that 17%. I think 10 will be more than okay to me. And I have no interest in Brett Anderson.
He has a 9.7% strikeout percentage against lefties, 12.9 against righties.
Seems low.
Yeah, it's not great.
Brewers, 10th in ownership on FanDuel, 9th on DK. I have them 8th. I don't have anything that stands out as like super amazing. Any Brewers bats standing out to you that you want to get to? This is not an amazing Brewers lineup right now.
There's some really cheap right-handed bats with Kane, Braun, and Aguilar, but the same reasons that I gave for why I'm interested in Lyles, just because of the park and the weather, obviously work against Milwaukee. So not super interested.
A's bats, 5th on FanDuel, 8th on DraftKings. I have them 12th. I mean, I don't think Jordan Lyles is all that good or anything, but this doesn't feel like a good spot to target offense.
Yeah, it's just pretty unappealing conditions. I think Matt Olson probably hits a home run.
A good spot for Matt Olson. 4,300 on DK.
Maybe he's about to go on a tear.
Did he really?
Yeah.
3,300. I just want to see him get up to that batting average. That's all I care about. 2%. The only thing that matters. I don't have much here. I mean, there are bats for some of these teams that, like, you can roster Yelich. I don't know why you would want to at this price. You could roster Moustakas. I don't know why you would want to in this spot. This game's just really unappealing to me, pitching and hitting.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
Okay. Well,
except for $1,600 Lyles.
8 games up, 8 games down. We're in and out of here pretty quick. We had
12 games up, 12 games down.
It's true. We didn't really go game by game on the early, but we did. Yeah, we did hit on it, and that's all that matters. So, perfect time for everybody to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Lofty will have the deep dive out in the early afternoon. We've got early slate locking 12:05, I believe. 12 something, that's for sure. So get ready for that. I'm going to grab myself a little bit of a snack and then sit down for all of our premium subs. If you want that premium subscription, you want to talk to us in our premium Slack channel, awesemo.com/join. Use the promo code MLB Strategy. Adam, anything else?
Nope. Be back at 5 for the deeper dive with Lofty and Alex.
There you go. Deeper dive at 5, live before lock at 6, PGA live before lock 9 p.m. Ben Ross and Jason Roslin taking a look at the Wyndham Championship. That's all we've got, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We will talk to you again tomorrow.